There are three ways of getting filthy rich in this world. You can be way smarter than everyone else. You can be super dishonest and cheat the system, or you can be early. It's way easiest to just be early. We know how early stage most of the blockchain world is. And so we can front run institutions in the blockchain world, but within the blockchain world, there's an even earlier stage, small market cap opportunity to take advantage of. And we've been making life-changing returns in the midst of this brutal sell-off. And so today we're going to talk about how to make 100x gains on your initial investment just by investing in the Bittensor subnets. And we're going to talk about exactly how reasonable it is, right? That sounds like an unreasonable, crazy return. And it may be, right? This isn't investment advice. Anything can go to zero. But we're going to talk about how very reasonable and possible it is to make that 100x just by investing in these undiscovered subnets, right? That's key. Undiscovered. If you're first, then you get to cash out when everyone else is chasing. So the name of the game is being first. So let's say that you're looking to invest in some subnets and you come across a subnet like subnet 17, 404 Gen, and they come out with a post like this: River Village scene built entirely using 404 assets in the Unreal Engine. And then you realize that 404 Gen is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest data sets of 3D models for world building on the planet. And it can create extremely high quality scenes like this one. And you realize that 404 Gen is building the infrastructure layer for AI generated 3D content. One venture capital firm believes it can become the most performant compute network for 3D asset generation, serving everyone from indie creators to AAA studios building AI native games and virtual worlds. So that's just one potential subnet you could invest in, right? We can dive deeper into it. We can and plan on doing deep dives into a bunch of these high quality subnets. But for now, I'm just trying to show you how to make potentially 100x. But let's say you stumble across subnet 17, 404 Gen. Then you stumble across this one, subnet 14. This is Leighton Holdings, which is a company that owns several Bittensor subnets. We just converted our earned 4.4 Bitcoin, $440,000 worth of Bitcoin, from validating on TaoHash, Subnet 14, since launching 13 days ago into TAO, and will now be staking this back into Subnet 14. So what TaoHash does is incentivize Bitcoin miners to provide their mining hash rate to Subnet 14 validators, meaning get paid in Subnet 14 tokens for their Bitcoin mining hash rate instead of being paid in Bitcoin. Obviously, they're going to get paid a lot more if they're mining Subnet 14 tokens and they are getting paid mining Bitcoin, because Subnet 14 is just paying off way more. It has the same tokenomics as Bitcoin, but it's way earlier on in its halving cycle. So there's a 21 million fixed supply of Subnet 14 and Bitcoin. And Subnet 14 hasn't even had its first halving yet. So lots of Bitcoin miners are moving on to Subnet 14. Subnet 14 has already earned 4.4 Bitcoin in 13 days, $440,000 worth. Now they're transitioning that into TAO and staking it back into Subnet 14. So it's like a loop, a flywheel loop. And by the way, this is where we are in terms of TaoHash competing with the rest of the mining space. This is massive. It just launched a little over 2 weeks ago. It's already about to compete with Hive Digital, Hut 8, and could potentially skyrocket because, again, its tokenomics are way better than Bitcoin. It's paying out way more to Bitcoin miners for their hash rate than the Bitcoin network is, right? So watch this climb, exponential growth. That's another subnet, right? Subnet 14 TaoHash, Subnet 17, 404 GEN. That's just two. Then let's say you come across Dippy AI. We've hit a new all-time high of 75,778 daily active users. Dippy AI is backed by none other than Barry Silbert, the multi-billionaire early-stage investor in Bitcoin and founder of Digital Currency Group, which has some of the largest crypto funds on the planet. Well, he's also backing subnets. And we know that one of them is Dippy's speech, Subnet 58. And Dippy comes out and says that they have 75,000 daily active Dippy users. This is all happening on Bittensor. This is all happening on these revolutionary early stage subnets. So that's three, right? Here's another one. You will be able to buy Bittensor Subnet Alpha tokens with Solana using TaoFi soon. This is Sam Foreman, who's the founder of TaoFi, contributing to Sturdy Finance and Bittensor Subnet 10. So what he's saying is Bittensor Subnet 10 is going to be involved in unleashing potentially billions of dollars of liquidity from Solana into these Bittensor subnets. So we have this person saying, I am down almost 1,000 TAO today across all my wallets from alpha tokens. I don't care. Why? Wrapped alphas on Solana and Ethereum are coming. Subnet 3, $38 million market cap. Subnet 8, $55 million market cap. Subnet 56, $43 million market cap. What do you think happens when the Solana meme bros have access to these? So that's coming. The ability for Solana meme coin traders and the tens of billions of dollars in liquidity on Solana to flood into these assets. These are tiny cap assets. Again, we're early. We're before the Solana crowd can even touch these assets. That's Subnet 10, Sturdy Finance. There are other groups working to unleash billions of dollars of liquidity into these tiny cap subnets. Layer 0 is live on Bittensor. We're excited to announce that Layer 0 is powering interoperability for Bittensor and all its subnets. With this integration, every ERC20 asset on Bittensor's EVM can now expand natively to any of the 130 plus chains Layer 0 supports today. The home of decentralized commodity markets, now connected to all of crypto. So Layer 0 seems to be competing with Subnet 10 and is about to unleash billions of dollars of liquidity into these subnets. It really doesn't get bigger than this. Again, maybe nothing will come of it, but maybe something does. We've already seen massive amounts of capital flood into these subnets. And so who's going to benefit from this in the Bittensor ecosystem? Well, Joseph Jacks of Leighton Holdings says, Kibby Bite Me and I are proud to announce that Leighton Holdings has partnered with Layer 0 Core to unlock universal interoperability and liquidity to Bittensor subnets. We'll also be driving many integrations with all the top networks to eliminate all friction for the mainstream to access Bittensor subnets. So again, they're trying to eliminate all friction. If you're in it now, you're in it before the mainstream. Leighton Holdings is going to benefit from this. The two subnets that Leighton Holdings owns are Subnet 14 TaoHash and Subnet 5, which they haven't even disclosed the utility for yet. So let's say you do research and come across all of these revolutionary subnets and you want to know how to make 100x in these subnets. Well, this is the way in theory. Again, not financial advice, but this is a very feasible way. Let's say you take a look at Subnet 58, Dippy AI, Dippy Speech, and you say, wow, look at the market cap. It's about $2 million. It's tiny, right? Fully diluted valuation, 39 million. And you decided to buy Dippy Speech because it has a lot of daily active users. It's backed up by Barry Silbert. And you come in here like we were doing on our Patreon a few days ago, and you notice the deep value in these assets and you start buying around here. So let's say you bought this at 0.003 TAO, and you say, well, it can easily do a move like Subnet 5, which we were also buying very early on in my Patreon. Subnet 5 went from 0.01 TAO to 0.08 TAO. It did an 8x. So let's just cut that in half, right? And say Subnet 58 is going to do a 4x from 0.003 TAO. That would make it worth 0.012 TAO. So let's say you put $1,000 into Dippy Speech at 0.003. It does a 4x, which is a very reasonable move for tiny market cap subnets. It does a 4x. Now you've turned your $1,000 into $4,000. Very reasonable. We've seen types of gains like this with these assets. Then you come over to TaoYield.com and you scroll down to Dippy Speech and you realize that you could stake this subnet at 250% a year APY. You've turned your $1,000 into $4,000 with a very reasonable move for a tiny early stage subnet. Again, this isn't investment advice. This is just a very reasonable, realistic outcome. So you've turned your $1,000 into $4,000. Then you start staking your $4,000 at 250%. So within a year, you've turned your $4,000 into something like $12,000 just by buying the subnet very early stage before it's pumped. Again, we want to get in really early. So you put $1,000 in before it pumped, you do a 4x or so, and then you stake it for 250%. You end up within a year at $12,000 worth. Now, again, these are priced in TAO. So you've already done a 12x. What happens if the price of TAO goes up 10x, which would be something like $4,000 per TAO token. Now you have your $12,000 worth of TAO in this subnet going up in dollar terms. So if TAO does a 10x move to a very reasonable price of $4,000 per token, you've turned your $12,000 into $100,000, and initially you put in $1,000. So obviously these are all estimates. Anything could be off. Dippy AI could go up 10x. So you turn your $1,000 into a $10,000 investment, stake it at 250%, end up with $30,000 worth of these tokens before factoring in the dollar price rise of TAO. And if TAO goes up 5x in price to a $2,000 per token price, now you've turned your $30,000 into $150,000 from an initial investment of $1,000. This is how you can make 100x or over 100x just by investing early into these subnets that are so undiscovered. The rest of the crypto world has barely had access to them, but that's all changing. So again, many different ways of making 50 to 100x. And again, just one more example, just to hammer it home. If Dippy AI goes from a current market cap of $1.9 million to $20 million, that's a 10x move. Goes from $2 million up to $40 million, that's a 20x move. You've turned your $1,000 into $20,000. You're staking that at 250% a year, just earning more alpha tokens. You turn that $20,000 into $60,000, and TAO does a 2x. Now you turn your $60,000 into $120,000 investment from your initial $1,000 investment just by buying it very early before the pump. This is how it's done. And we're already finding massive success with this. And so I just want to share this opportunity with you. I have a video showing exactly how to do this, which wallets to use. Find it. It's called How to Rake in Profits on Bittensor. But if you have more questions, reach out to me on Patreon. We'll try to do more of these deep dives into what is going on in this revolutionary space, but it really doesn't get better as an early stage investor than to have the opportunity to take advantage of what is going on.